In a town, there is a creepy girl with a strange doll in her hand. She says that she will find someone no matter where they hide. Then there is a school assembly where a class representative named Keitaro Jintoga is welcomed on stage. Keitaro had gotten the best grade on the entrance exam. The first thing he says when he gets up is, "I hate the supernatural." Then we see how in every photo that he is in, there is a problem that he blames on the face that spirits are drawn to him. Back in middle school, he got tangled with a nasty spirit. He said a good friend of his got dragged into it, too. And for the next 2 years he refused to leave his room to not hurt anyone else. An old friend of his named Aiko along with his family helped him to try to live a normal life again. And doing so, he managed to catch up in school. Turns out that Keitaro also managed to get a tutoring job, which is another big step towards his normal life. Aiko is really happy that they both go to the same school. The isolation has caused problems with his social skills, and his spirit attraction also causes problems in his work. When he goes to get assigned to a student to tutor, they assign a girl known as a prodigy to her. Due to Keitaro being the class representative, they requested him to tutor the girl. Turns out the girl is Aiko's cousin. When Keitaro goes into Aiko's house to meet the girl, he is terrified and shocked and asks Aiko as to what kind of creature she is. But Aiko is confused and says that she is just her cousin and her name is Yaoi Hazuki. The girl is small and has a strange-looking skull in each eye. The girl mentions Keitaro's glove on his right hand. She can see it as well. The girl has a bunny doll that is emitting a terrifying aura that Keitaro is able to see. He is sure that Yaoi is also able to see spirits, just like him. Aiko is confused, but Keitaro manages to get himself together and introduce himself to Yaoi. The girl asks and somehow forces Keitaro to go to a haunted place as she knows that spirits like Keitaro. Aiko agrees to go since Yaoi always insists on visiting a haunted place. Keitaro is terrified and wants to bail out of this tutoring job. Aiko decides to drive them to the place since Keitaro has experience with spirits and says that if something goes wrong, they'll just simply leave. Keitaro starts to sense the spirits halfway and insists on turning around. But Yaoi refuses and pushes Aiko's leg on the pedal to go faster. Finally, they arrive at a haunted phone booth. Aiko says that the booth is apparently haunted by a young woman. Apparently, a hostess was brutally murdered in this phone booth, and she swore that anyone who enters or uses the phone booth will meet the same brutal fate. Yaoi enters the booth, but Keitaro pulls her out instantly. Yaoi says that she didn't see anything, which makes Aiko suspicious that the story may have just been made up. But Keitaro gets mad chills from this phone booth. Yaoi decides to call the phone booth, but Keitaro refuses and decides to do it himself. When Keitaro calls the phone booth, someone picks up and asks for help. They look at the phone booth and see bloody hand and face prints trying to escape the phone booth. Yaoi opens the door and throws her bunny doll in there. The bunny explodes into pieces and blood splashes everywhere. That's when Aiko and Keitaro get scared and get in the car and speed away as fast as possible. When they arrive home, Keitaro questions Aiko about Yaoi as to what is wrong with her. Keitaro warns Yaoi and tells her that her parents would be upset if they knew about this. Suddenly Yaoi looks upset and Aiko looks scared and in panic. Aiko asks Keitaro to talk to her after their study session. During the session, Yaoi manages to get all the questions that Keitaro gives her correct. Keitaro asks Yaoi about spirits. Yaoi can see spirits and she likes them a lot. Yaoi says that the phone booth spirit didn't come out for her, but it did when Keitaro called. Keitaro says that he can always attract the spirit of a haunted place. Yaoi gets excited, but Keitaro shuts her down instantly. Aiko and Keitaro talked after the session. Aiko tells him that Yaoi lost her parents in a car accident, and the reason that she likes spirits is because she is trying to find her mother's spirit. She lost her parents when they were on their back from an amusement park, which is when Yaoi saw a man in a camper van along with a spirit crashing into them. She saw a strange-looking entity take the soul of her mom away. Keitaro thinks he can help her find her mom, and Yaoi hears that. The next day they go back to the phone booth. The spirit appears and suddenly Keitaro's right hand takes him inside the phone booth. The spirit starts strangling Keitaro. Yaoi sees that the spirit manages to push through a protective statue that Keitaro was holding. Yaoi tries to open the door and grabs the statue. She swings the statue at the phone booth and kills it. She tells Keitaro that he will always be fine because she will hunt the spirits down. Keitaro becomes suspicious as to why it is so hard for Yaoi to find spirits if she is so sensitive to them. Yaoi traps spirits that she hunts into dolls and keeps them in her room. Yaoi captures spirits in her dolls and other spirits in her room kill the spirit. She is trying to find the spirit that took her mom away from her. Keitaro and Yaoi have another tutoring session together. When they finished, Yaoi asked Keitaro to go to another haunted place again. Keitaro tries to bail out and not go, so he tells them that he is going to get exorcised. That makes Yaoi even more excited, so they decide to tag along. Keitaro says that he got cursed a long time ago and he needs regular exorcisms. They have a long drive to the shrine. When they arrive, an old lady splashes a bucket of water in his face. She is Keitaro's grandma and is very upset at Yaoi. Apparently, the protective statues are called Jizo statues and Yaoi has broken 7 of them. Jizo spirits are now mad at Yaoi and are looking for her. The grandma tries to kick Yaoi out, but Keitaro stops her from doing so. Grandma agrees to let Yaoi be but warns her that if she hurts Keitaro, she will regret it. Keitaro's grandma has been helping him a lot to live with his cursed condition, and not to drag people into his spirit situation. Yaoi decides to go into the room to watch the exorcism, but Aiko manages to keep her away by showing Keitaro's hand, which is always covered by the glove. The hand was covered in nerves that made it look very fibrous. The nerves keep getting longer and more painful, so during the exorcism, they numb his hand to cut off the nerves while saying prayers. Yaoi looks stunned when she sees his hand and says to herself that something is not right. After the exorcism was done, Aiko and Yaoi went to get some snacks for everyone. Yaoi sees the tray filled with the cut-off nerves. The grandma warns her not to get cursed, but Yaoi asks her if she can take some of them. The grandma notices that Yaoi likes scary stuff, so she decides to tell her a story. Yaoi is interested to hear what the story is about. The grandma says that people bring cursed dolls to the shrine and they take care of them. They lock the most dangerous ones in the basement and make sure that no one goes down to the basement. When Keitaro was walking, he saw a doll on the ground. He picks it up and then suddenly his tone changes. The grandma is still telling the story. She tells Yaoi that the spirits down in the basement are desperate for a body to possess. She tells Yaoi not to go there, otherwise they will get her. The grandma tries to scare Yaoi while telling the story, but Yaoi is so invested in the story that she doesn't get scared and actually finds the story fun. The grandma is shocked that Yaoi is not scared. Then Yaoi notices Keitaro walking strangely, drooling and holding a doll. She asks the grandma what the dolls look like. The grandma describes the exact doll that Keitaro is holding when he is walking. Yaoi wants to go to the basement where the spirits are all locked. She tells them that Keitaro is possessed by one of the dolls. Yaoi picks up the grandma's sword and decides to save Keitaro from the demonic spirit. Keitaro gains his consciousness back down in the basement. He doesn't remember anything. The doll that he was holding starts to take over him. He realizes what is happening and tries to resist. He can't breathe. He remembers his grandma telling him not to go to the basement and he always listened. But now he is on the floor crying. Yaoi suddenly comes to the basement and uses the sword to cut the doll's head. She saved Keitaro again. She threatened the rest of the dolls in the basement. They leave the shrine and go home. When they arrive, Yaoi decides to show Keitaro her room and doll collection. When Keitaro sees her room, he is stunned and terrified. He is so scared that he falls down and is surprised that he didn't sense this immense presence before the door was opened. Yaoi goes in and places the doll that tried to kill Keitaro in her collection. She attached the head of the doll with Keitaro's nerves, and every time she touched those nerves, the doll feels immense pain. Keitaro starts to regret meeting Yaoi. He tries to warn Aiko and tells her to escape Yaoi's room. Aiko doesn't see the spirits, so she doesn't understand what Keitaro is talking about. Yaoi comes out of the room and promises Keitaro that everything is safe and the spirits she has collected have never caused any problems. Then she reaches out with her hand and asks for Keitaro's nails.